So the holidays are here, bargains are everywhere, and this is the time of year where I usually get a lot of questions from people asking me, what should I buy? Do you get a PC? Do you get a console? So this video is what I would recommend based on my experience. Keep in mind, it's sad that I have to do a disclaimer for this, but this is just my opinion. And opinions are like buttholes, everybody has one. So if you feel triggered easily, you don't like hearing opposing points of view, then this video may not be for you and you may want to exit out and go back to your safe space. But otherwise, let's continue. So first off, I do not recommend buying a Wii U. Maybe if you have kids, but even then, I think that's pushing it. Because Nintendo is getting ready to unveil a new system next year, and I would, pretty much guarantee that it's going to have backwards compatibility. I don't think they're going to screw over all the Wii U people. So I would hold off and wait and see what they're bringing. And also, the Wii U is still kind of pricey as far as I'm concerned. It's still very close to the price point of PlayStation and Xbox. And so I just don't believe it's a good time to invest in a Wii U. So I would wait and see what happens with the new one. PC. If you are considering, even in the slightest, of possibly saving up or going for a PC for gaming, do it. I've laid out the benefits and cons before. There's pros and cons to everything, but I think the pros far outweigh the cons. So if you've got $700 to $1,000 that you can invest in to a decent rig, that's going to last you for a while, and anything on top of that is just icing on the cake. And yes, that is a lot more than a console, but it's also going to give you more functionality than a console ever will. You're going to have access to more games, more exclusives. Games are going to play better because they all have better frame rates, they all have better graphics. Games are also cheaper in a lot of cases because there's more competition from retailers selling codes. So it's just more options all the way around, no matter how you look at, even down to things like the field of view. Now, one big complaint that I always hear from a lot of people is they say you always have to constantly update your rig. But, the alternative is to have a static console that's going to continually just get outdated. And it's a myth that you constantly have to upgrade your rig. I've had the same PC with the same components inside, haven't changed nothing for over 3.5 years. And I had a GTX 680 graphics card, and I was still playing new games, brand new games, on high settings. But this week, I did upgrade to the 970, but it was mainly just as like a Christmas present for myself. It was more for fun than a necessity. I didn't have to upgrade, but I went on ahead and did. But you can just do so many more things with the PC than a console. You can use it for work, school, porn, editing. You got free mods that you can go to for gaming. So it really is an all-in-one machine. So I say that if you're considering in the slightest, do it. I don't think you'll regret it, even if you have to save up for one, because patience is a virtue. Moving on to the more controversial section, PS4 or Xbox One. So they've both been out for a couple of years now, and this holiday they're pretty much the same price. So I think there's some Xbox bundles that include more games, so depending on where you're looking, you'll probably find better deals on the Xbox, but I really wouldn't let price be a deciding factor this year. I would pay attention more to which one has delivered so far, and also looking ahead to see which lineup of games you're going to be most impressed with. Now keep in mind, again, this is just my opinion based on my personal experience. So I'm going to tell you what I've experienced so far. As far as the Xbox is concerned, booting up the console today is a completely different experience than what it was 2 years ago. Microsoft has delivered updates routinely on a monthly basis, and it's honestly a solid, feature-rich gaming machine. And they've also been listening to fan requests, so they've included things like backwards compatibility now. You've got streaming to Windows devices, and so on. You've also got other features that Sony turned down, like EA Access. Booting up on the PlayStation 4, on the other hand, really doesn't feel that much different than booting up on the PlayStation 3. And updates have been slow, and many features that's been requested for years are still missing. You still can't appear offline. You don't get friend notifications. You get notifications if your friends join in a party, but you don't get notifications if they come online. You still can't change your name. Now, we know that the PlayStation 4 is selling like crazy, though. They just announced that they've got 30 million units that they've sold through. That means sold to customers. So sales are definitely great. But it's hard for me to come up with many more things to praise for the PlayStation other than sales. For me, personally, it's been the most overrated console I've ever owned. I barely even turn it on, and that's because they don't have many exclusives that I find that interesting. Almost every game that I've played on the system has been a rental that I've went and I've beat in 2 or 3 days, and then I'm done with it. I've got my PC for multiplats, and I've got my consoles primarily for exclusives recently. And PlayStation 4 definitely does have more exclusives. If you want to argue that point, if you want to argue numbers, yes, they've got more exclusives. They've also got more exclusives that I have zero interest in playing. And so I'm looking for quality over quantity. And I personally prefer games like Halo over a game like Killzone, Sunset Overdrive over a game like Infamous, Forza over Drive Club, etc. And then looking ahead to the future, there's still not a whole lot of games that have just wowed me from Sony. I'm not saying that Microsoft is just overflowing with exclusives, but I do generally find that their games tend to be more interesting to me. And looking ahead, Sea of Thieves, Quantum Break, Scalebound, Halo Wars 2, those types of games interest me more than what I've seen from Sony. And, that's just personal opinion and preferences. And that's not to say that Sony doesn't have any good titles in the works. Games that interest me on that side are Horizon, Wild, and Uncharted. Those come to mind. But they don't pique my interest as much as the former. And they also seem like games that I'm more likely to rent over buying. And also, I prefer the Xbox controller more than the PlayStation 4, especially for first-person shooters. It's just a lot more comfortable for me. I'm not a big fan of where the sticks are located on the PlayStation. And also, the Xbox One Elite controller is definitely by far the best feeling controller I've ever laid hands on. And I'll do a video on that here a little bit shortly, but I want to get more time in with it. But unless you're getting the Elite Bundle, of course, then that's going to be an added accessory. But I'd still take even the base Xbox controller over the PlayStation 4 any day. And also, the PlayStation 4's battery life is just absolutely abysmal. It's horrible. I don't know how it drains so fast. Now, I'm not saying that PlayStation 4 is a bad machine. I'm just telling you that I'm not satisfied with it personally. And I'd love to have more reasons to turn on my system. But lately, just being honest, it's a dust collector. And if they don't show some good games at the PlayStation event coming up next month, then I'm seriously considering dropping the weight and selling it. Because nothing frustrates me more than having a $200 to $300 machine that just sits there without getting used. And Sony seems to be putting more emphasis on multiplats, which again is what I've got a PC for. I would say that I do play more PC than consoles, but when I'm playing on consoles, I just have a better experience with Xbox almost all the way around. And considering that I own both systems, I'm playing both systems on a screen that's 50-inch plus, that slight resolution bump that, gains so many headlines in the news for the PlayStation 4 is pretty much non-existent for me. And I would rather have features like being able to stay in the game and pull up my friends list and still be able to see the game without having to cover my entire screen and take me out of that experience and all that. So just the overall experience for me is a lot better on the Xbox. Now, I'm not claiming that PlayStation 4 is a bad machine. It's just been really disappointing for me, and that's me personally. And look, you're going to have people who come and have the complete opposite opinion. They're going to tell you their favorite system is the PlayStation 4 and that they're disappointed in the Xbox One. And you know what? Nobody's right or wrong. It's just an opinion. It's like being attracted to blondes or brunettes. I'm personally a brunette guy. So don't just listen to me. Go out, grab other people's thoughts, do your research. There's plenty to consider, including things like, what are your friends playing on? But for me, if I had to rank them in order, it's PC, Xbox, and PlayStation 4. And that's just my experience as a gamer. But at the end of the day, I don't care what you buy. Go buy whatever. Go buy them all if you can. But whatever you do buy, I do hope that you enjoy it. Post your thoughts below. What's your favorite system and why?
Are you listening? Damn.